Beyond the I love you line, Creeps also insists that he would never use excessive emoticons, roleplay in chat, or generally talk like a teenage girl on Tumblr in 2012. This is very notable because he recoils and cringes and directly states that he had never done this.
We will show examples of Creep's post history as we talk about his response. So here they're showing that there are comments where he did talk in that kind of roleplay type way. But they're showing here like, okay, well, here is public, you know, screenshots of you doing that outside of the context of this alleged grooming, right? Have you heard about the CreepsMcPasta grooming allegations? That creepy reading is a good video on it. Seems like he's 100% guilty. All right. CreepsMcPasta, that creepy reading. 40 minutes. Oh, I have seen some of this. I think people were asking me to cover this a long time ago. But I think it was around the time I was coming back to YouTube from the Pyro stuff. So I was just like, I don't want to get involved in any grooming allegations, but we can take a look at this. We can watch it. CreepsMcPasta needs to stop. Looks like he's still uploading to this day. So I guess we'll see what the allegations are here. We'll get into it. In depth on Photom Grave. Are you going to India? How was the Poop Fest? Not going to India. Didn't go. I'll explain probably later in this stream what happened with India, but it's like mostly a just gay story. CreepsMcPasta needs to stop allegations against CreepsMcPasta. Let's watch it.
Saying that people who enjoy.
What's the public reception on this? This situation is a perfect example of a phrase I heard a while ago. Abusers groom their character references just as much as their victims. The fact that his friends all said he wouldn't do it literally means nothing. As someone who's talked to him in person during conventions and talked about horror stories together a couple of years back, this is heartbreaking because I really believed he was telling the truth. He didn't seem like that kind of guy. Fuck, man. All right, let's watch this.
In 2020, YouTuber Belle Aubrey uploaded an interview of Komori, aka Kuro-chan Fox, who would go on to accuse CreepsMcPasta of having a sexually explicit conversation with a 12-year-old while he himself was 21. Even allegedly going as far as receiving actual CP from the victim. Creeps did make a response that seemed to initially satisfy just about everyone that watched it. I mean, those that knew him as a kind person that was quick to forgive and usually open to having a conversation. So needless to say, he's built up quite a bit of goodwill in the community. No one really wanted to believe that he could do this or that he would lie about it when the victim was right there. It was not in his perceived, kind, empathetic, forgiving nature. However, James Randi once said that no matter how skeptical you are, the people who want to fool you will and can. And he would demonstrate this by telling a silly story about how a group of NASA scientists were tricked into believing in psychic powers with a simple children's magic trick found in most beginners' guides to magic. This is because no matter who you are, we all make assumptions, and as a result have way less time to cut through a lie than a bad actor has in crafting a narrative, which specifically draws upon those assumptions to deceive you with a...
Right, so he's directly saying here CreepsMcPasta lied in his response. I remember this response video happening. I do remember this existing. I remember it had a relatively positive reception. Here we go, this video. I used to listen to this guy a long time ago. Oh my god, Creeps is not white. I was picturing him look like Ron Weasley from the Harry Potter movies. I did too, actually. Too long didn't read. Someone impersonated him. It's tragic this happened to her. She is a victim, but he's a victim too. This isn't fair to him. He's too nice to say he's a victim, by the way. Those are my words because it's true. All right. So I guess basically he was accused of sexting a 12-year-old girl, and he said someone impersonated him and it wasn't actually him.
Plausible sounding story. In my opinion, I believe CreepsMcPasta used these assumptions to not only trick me when I confronted him a year ago over this, but to basically gaslight the horror narration community at large. I've ran my evidence of this by several different content creators, friends, and family, while also independently verifying what I can, and the only possible conclusion I could come up with is CreepsMcPasta, whether he's guilty or not, did a lot of lying in his response, which makes me believe that he had something to do with it. He crafted this response not only to lead the average listener into believing that he's incapable of having a sexual relationship with a 12-year-old, but more specifically to conflate the personal experiences the narration community had with him, in order to maintain the respect of his peers and silence dissent in his own community. As a direct result of this, the comment section on Belle Aubrey's video is nothing short of horrifying. I can't imagine what it must feel like to be the victim in this case, to come out about a truly horrifying experience only to be disliked, bombed, mocked, and accused of being a liar or mentally unwell enough to accurately.
Yeah, I mean, this is the thing that happens always, right? Because people, the thing is, like, people hate you know, I'm not saying CreepsMcPasta is any of those things because I haven't seen the evidence here, but people hate those people. But what they hate almost more than that is a false accuser, because what a false accuser does is they take this perceived, trauma that people go through, that people do actually go through, of having like their innocence stolen, having them, exploited sexually, having years of their life taken from them, right? They take this, and what they say is, actually, that happened to me, even though it really didn't. And I am like them, even though I didn't go through that kind of trauma. I didn't go through that experience. And not only that, I'm going to put that name on someone else who didn't do it. That's why people hate a false accuser so much. It's not just like the fact that it's a lie. It's an objective disrespect to people who do actually go through that. And it ultimately does make it harder for people who did go through it to come out about it, honestly, because you have bad actors who are pushing this. Now, one thing that's interesting that I've thought about recently is that it seems to me like most false accusers don't know that they're lying or they're doing anything wrong. It's kind of like a twofold thing where, on one hand, they think that what happened to them, or they think that what happened to them was sexual, was whatever, right? And they're, misguided due to either mental illness or delusion or something. Or they know it didn't happen, but because that person did something awful to them unrelated, or someone else did something awful to them, they feel justified in telling this lie because it's like that's how they get their retribution for what they went through, right? Even though what they went through does not rise to that level of the crime being accused, they're accusing someone of. Now, that doesn't justify their actions, obviously, but it does give you kind of a window into their psychology, that like there's a very few cases where somebody is falsely accusing someone and they know that they're doing something wrong and they actively go and try to do that, right? That's relatively rare, I think. That doesn't, admonish them of responsibility for the false allegation they make, because the result is the same. But it's, it's good to get a peer into how they think, I think, sometimes.
Depict some of the most impactful events of your life up until this point. With all this in mind, I'm hoping to right a wrong today and take a unbiased look at the allegations Komori has brought forward against one of the largest narrators in the creepypasta community. Looking at both sides fairly.
CreepsMcPasta's channel is huge, by the way. I feel like he was the number 2 guy back in the day that I would listen to, because the guy I really liked to listen to was Mr. Creepypasta. Okay, this guy was the goated one. This is the guy that originally read, I don't know if he's the first guy ever to read it, but he's the guy who read Baraska for the first time that I saw it. Baraska is a really good, it's not even like creepypasta, it's just like a really good short story, I would say. But he narrated it on YouTube, and back in the day, I thought this story was great, and it scared the fuck out of me when I was like, when did this come out? Let's see here. This is released in 2017. I would have been 15 years old. This is the full one, though. This is a full breakdown. I thought he posted the original in parts, I thought. But whatever the case, when I heard this, it scared the out of me. And it was later kind of brought back by Wendigoon's podcast with Meat Canyon, the Creepcast. And it was they did really good narration. But this guy was like number 1 that I liked. And then the number 2 guy was CreepsMcPasta. Now, I liked him much less because he was British. And I hate British people. But it was still, he was a decent narrator. He read some good stories. And he was really big back in the day when the creepypasta boom was happening on YouTube, of like guys who would read a creepypasta and, narrate that for their audience. He was, in my view, CreepsMcPasta was the number 2 guy.
Reviewing all the information available, we'll see how it holds up with the addition of new evidence not available at the time of the accusation. On August 22nd, 2020, YouTuber Belle Aubrey uploaded an interview with an individual who goes by Komori.
This is Pastel Belle. There was some drama with her back in the day. I can't even remember what it was. What was the Pastel Belle drama? I made videos about her. Pastel Belle. Yeah, this.
Your only evidence is Eugenia writing a positive message on Twitter and thumbnails where you add a giant red arrow pointing.
It was something relating to Eugenia Cooney. I want to say she was accusing her of intentionally showing herself naked to her audience or encouraging eating disorders, I think. I think that's what this was. She gives me the vibes of people who usually try to paint themselves in wholesomeness and purity to hide the absolutely rancid personality they have underneath. Okay, I'm getting my memory jogged a little bit here. But I believe, hopefully her coverage with CreepsMcPasta was better than her coverage was with Eugenia Cooney.
In this video, Komori would allege that she first started talking to CreepsMcPasta in 2012 via YouTube DMs, which quickly moved on to Facebook, Skype, and later a sketchy service called Chatango. Komori said this in her interview regarding her age.
Ask a couple questions. So
Yeah.
at the time, did you know how old he was?
Yeah,
Okay, and how old was he at the time?
he was 21.
Okay, and did he know that you were 13?
Yeah, we would like joke about how like we were the reverse age, you know, like because he was 21 and I was 12.
Okay,
But-
well,
But now I just realized like that's anyway.
Continuing on about how she talked with him.
It's like me fangirling, and then he was like, "Oh, thank you so much," like because I told him I liked, his voice, and it was kind of cringy.
So in these DMs, this person that is supposedly CreepsMcPasta is calling her Honey Bunny. Is something up? Where are you? Sending heart emojis back and forth? Bro, no! No!
Obviously, because I was 12.
No.
Yeah.
But we ended up like swapping Skypes, or I guess I gave him my Skype or he gave me his, and we started talking from there.
She also goes on to state that CreepsMcPasta had made a mural of her face in Minecraft, which eventually led to her suggesting that he make a gaming channel in relation to the CreepsMcPasta persona. Back in the day, Creeps was well known for wearing a Pikachu onesie, which I can personally attest to seeing at least once or twice. The victim, after seeing Creeps wearing this, wanted a Pikachu onesie for herself, which she alleges that CreepsMcPasta paid for over PayPal. At the time of the interview, however, this PayPal confirmation email was not available to the public. But before moving on, I wanted to draw your attention to the email address jacobmonkey@hotmail.com, which, trust me, just keep in the back of your mind, it will become important later. During these voice calls, video chats, and texts, Creeps would not only plan videos that did and still appear on his channel today, but also casually flirted with Komori. This screen grab of Komori's Facebook Messenger even references a photo which she alleges to be a sexually explicit picture of her genitals, with Creeps saying, "I'm never closing it. Never, ever." Komori would also go on to state that she, CreepsMcPasta, and CreepyPasta Jr., another narrator, would go on to have calls that got risque. One instance involves CreepyPasta Jr. describing a fantasy of the victim getting run over by a car as a part of the Guro fetish.
The Guro fetish. Has CreepyPasta Jr. ever talked about this? CreepyPasta Jr. allegations. It doesn't look like he's ever responded to it. He hasn't posted in a couple years, it looks like. Do I remember this guy?
He looked up from the paperwork and smiled at me. He asked,
Yeah, I do remember this guy vaguely. So she's claiming there was like some kind of internet gangbang going on with these various people. Guro.
For those that don't know, Guro is a not-so-common fetish in the hentai community involving being satisfied by gross things like guts, death, and killing, putting a extreme emphasis on the violence of the situation for sexual gratification.
What? Bro, what? What?
As you can imagine, it's not surprising that people who enjoy that kind of lifestyle were attracted to the creepypasta community. She also alleges that CreepsMcPasta and her at the time were dating.
We used to just basically be like really lovey-dovey, and like that's one reason why like I guess like it hurts so much to like, I mean, as a kid you don't know who's being serious or not, or like who's actually like who has good intentions and cares about you, and I thought that he cared about me.
Did he?
So
Oh, sorry.
no, you go.
I was just gonna ask, did he say things like that? Like, would he say things to imply that you two were in a relationship that wasn't just sexual and that he cared about you?
Yes. Yeah, I mean, in every context, pretty much, we were talking.
I mean, the biggest thing here is just going to be proving that the DMs actually came from him and they were at the time that she's saying, right? If you can get both of those, then you got him dead to rights. But that's going to be the major nail in the coffin here with any case, right? You need to have proof that it's from the person that you say it's from, proof that that person to your age, and proof of the time frame, right?
About being like boyfriend.
I mean, a 21-year-old talking to a 12-year-old is, make no mistake. If that is what happened here, that is. But we got to, we got to hammer down on if that actually 1000% happened.
Basically, it was like like a 12-year-old's relationship, except he was 21 and acting like a 12-year-old.
Her father found out about the relationship, which led to Komori losing access to both her Skype and YouTube account. However, she would still maintain communication with Creeps via Facebook Messenger and in secret Chatango. This is how CreepsMcPasta found out about it and why the video on his channel, The Streets, is directly dedicated to her not being able to narrate as a direct result.
Oh. So she's cited in one of the videos too.
Eventually, her father found out again and completely cut off access to the internet. Having no real social life at school, general depression even before the situation with Creeps, and her family finding out about it, Komori describes how she felt suicidal.
And when I had everything taken away from me, I had gone to the bathroom and considered drink.
All right.
And I thought that he cared about me. That's one reason why, like,
We got to speed up this video. Things are going a little slow. 1.5. Let's go.
I had gone to the bathroom and considered drinking bleach, but I didn't. Because I've heard it's not pleasant.
Out of concern for Komori, her family sent her off to a crisis center. 3 months after returning, she'd be given access to the internet with supervision, which Komori describes as not very good. This would allow her to communicate with Creeps in a limited capacity. After not speaking for almost 2 years, when Komori turned 15, she reached out to Creeps, who pretended that nothing happened, at least according to the victim.
Ironically, I'm sure most gore fetishists would hyperventilate and bawl and puke if they saw someone with any grievous injury IRL. I mean, maybe. With some of them, maybe it's more fantasy than not, but with some of them, they probably would actually get turned on by it. You know, I mean, that is the point of the fetish, right?
When I turned 15.
I mean, what is the premise?
I messaged him again, and it had been like a year and a half, or 2 years. And 2 years since we had last talked. And he had gotten an adult girlfriend, and just forgotten about me. He was like nothing happened. He was just like literally talking like nothing happened on Messenger, or like Skype Messenger.
And you felt,
yeah.
How did you feel after that?
I mean, I feel like he was like genuinely the first person that I like actually loved, and I didn't realize. Well, okay, now I realize that people who like children, they don't like them for their personalities.
Yes.
They like them because they're children, and that's what I was. I was just a child.
Outside of normal emotional distress, the main allegations from Komori include a string of inappropriate communications with a minor, Komori age 12, and
What does this DM say?
allegations from Komori include a string of
No, you just got me to set this up just to fall asleep. Hug, I love you. I love you too. Hugs is I love super happy fun times XD. And super happy fun time love you too. Wink. Jerk plus overly attached girlfriend. Bruh. The roleplay is crazy.
the inappropriate communications with a minor, Komori
Crazy.
age 12, and CreepsMcPasta age 21, the exchanging of material, and the general manipulation
So apparently he's saying that he bought her a onesie. He's saying he purchased for her a Pikachu onesie.
of a minor who is also a fan, and using dating in order to normalize sexual behavior.
I think I sent this before, but I always used to talk to him on Chatango in secret after I came out of the crisis center, but they delete old chat logs. So we see Creepypasta. Mr. CreepsMcPasta is offline. Male, 28, United Kingdom. Would that not be older than he was at the time, though? Because I thought they said he was 21, not 28. Wouldn't that be a different age?
To a 12-year-old. On August 24th, 2020, Creeps would make a response to Komori's interview, where he would try to absolve himself of any connection to the victim by making a series of arguments that would seem to imply that he could not have done it. Consequently, he also makes a bold claim that he believes the events alleged by Komori did happen. However, the person who did it simply catfishes him and possibly Creepypasta Jr.
But like I said, there's still the possibility that, again, this adds to the idea that maybe there's these people using not just my identity, but also his. The way it talks, like everything about it is just sus. And like I said, I keep reiterating, who knows if it is a CreepsMcPasta that's impersonating me, but the one thing I can wholeheartedly say is it's not me. It's using my image, it's using my name, it's using everything about me, but it's not me.
It should be noted that during the entire interview, Creeps takes on a calm, understanding, almost friendly demeanor, like, you know, the guy that we know. It really draws you in and makes you want to believe him, as he has this authentic, genuine tone.
If you're here, you're, I feel, one of three people. Either you know what's going on, and you've been awaiting a response, which, in my mind, like, kudos to you for waiting. I've seen far too many people not give this chance straight away, which is saddening to hear because it's just one side right now. Or you're someone else who has no idea what's going on and you're about to get caught up real fast. Or 3, you're one of the people who left indefinitely but, has curiously seen this and came back, which, again, a respectable thing.
It's also worth noting that in the description, he mentions that he would donate the ad revenue from the video to a relevant charity, and that he doesn't want you to attack the victim. So for now, I'll do my best to represent each of CreepsMcPasta's claims that are either true or false. A lot of his response is just appealing to emotion. Things like,
people who are close to me and know me, know me in person, looked at it and like, are they serious?
it seriously makes up a good portion of the video, which ultimately just fills up airtime and is extremely debatable and confusing.
That is debatable. I agree it's not a good argument, but I don't have a problem with that argument as long as the evidence against the allegations is dead to rights, right? Like the appeal to emotion can definitely be a very manipulative thing. You know, I'm less harsh on that kind of thing if the evidence being presented to the contrary of the initial allegations is good and dead to rights, right? You know, I think that on one hand, it can be argued that's like a clear appeal to emotion, but at the same time, when somebody's being accused of something, obviously it's like a personal attack to them, like being accused of being. So if it's a false allegation, they're going to be like, people know I would never do this. It's to even think this, like, how could you even believe this? And like, that is like a genuine emotional response that I think these people could have. So I don't necessarily think that's a red flag or an issue. Maybe more of an orange flag, maybe, in situations like this. The real thing to look at is going to be, in tandem with those kinds of arguments, are the allegations made towards him credible, and what is his response, and how does it discredit them, right? Like in terms of the factual basis outside of emotional arguments.
Confusing, almost intentionally so. Like I said before, in this 45-minute video, Creeps takes on this calm, friendly tone, going out of his way multiple times to implore his audience not to attack Komori or the interviewer. Creeps then goes on to bring up an anonymous character witness who says that they're good at reading people. Because of this anon narrator's opinion, Creeps believes there has to be a third party, and that this wasn't done out of malicious intent towards him.
He says he's good at reading particular tells, and from watching the video of the girl, that she's also not lying. Which again adds to this idea that there is potentially a third party involved. Because again, that's what I want to believe. I don't want to believe that this was a malicious setup event.
He then goes through the logs and points out a few of his perceived discrepancies. For example, the word "I love you" is something that he's only said to a few people, and that it's extremely hard for him to say it, even in the context of this response.
I have had an aversion to that word almost my whole life. Like, I adore my friends, I adore my family, and I cherish my loved ones. But I have never told them explicitly the "I L U." I've only said it once or twice to a few people. But imagine this, I've never moved out my small town. I've lived with my parents for a long time. And when I moved, it was 4 doors down. And when I moved again, it was 2 minutes down the road. I've lived close to them, I adore them, I look after them, they're my world. And I don't think I've ever said it to them. I don't know what it is, call it intimacy issues.
Beyond the "I love you" line, Creeps also insists that he would never use excessive emoticons, roleplay in chat, or generally talk like a teenage girl on Tumblr in 2012. This is very notable because he recoils and cringes and directly states that he had never done this.
Exclamation mark, exclamation mark, exclamation mark.
Hold on. We will show examples of Creep's post history as we talk about his response. So here they're showing that there are comments where he did talk in that kind of roleplay type way, despite saying that he would never do it and had never done it, right? But they're showing here like, okay, well, here is public, screenshots of you doing that outside of the context of this alleged grooming, right?
Cringes and directly states that he had never done this.
Exclamation mark, exclamation mark, exclamation mark, exclamation mark, ampersand, ampersand, colon, at, bracket, ampersand, exclamation mark, 0. Oh no, pet's head in asterisk, I didn't even realize that one was there. Cringe asterisks is, no, I've never, unironically, no, we're not doing that.
After this, he brings up his first argument against Komori. In one of the Facebook DMs, the groomer mentions being at work, which, according to Creeps, he's only ever worked one job that required him to leave the house, which was Blockbuster. And because Blockbuster was shut down, it could not have been him.
The start of my message is this. I was at work. Now let me tell you something about myself. I've only ever had one job where I left the house. Every other job I've had, I've worked at home.
I'm not saying this guy did it, but I mean, it's not above a predator to lie to a child, right? Like, they're already messaging them. The script saying child logs are fake. He's saying he thinks, his perspective from his video is he said he thinks they're real, but it wasn't him doing it, and there's someone who impersonated him, basically.
I've only ever had one job where I left the house, and that was Blockbusters. And it's become such a... We all know what happened to Blockbusters, okay?
This is keeping in mind that Blockbuster closed all of its stores in 2014 and not 2012. While his store might have closed a bit earlier than that, we do have proof that this was not the case at the time. Creeps goes on to bring up that he started a YouTube channel after college and that he only worked at Blockbuster while he was a student. He finds it suspicious that the Catfish here would bring up that detail of him working, since he had done streams in the past and made posts where he vaguely mentions working a job, at least in his own words. He then proceeds to bring up old chat messages that to him indicate his true typing style. According to Creeps, he intentionally puts spelling mistakes and types poorly on purpose unless he's using a smartphone, which he did not own until 2014. After an anecdotal story about the old days, Creeps shows us another example of how he types, the earliest of these messages being from 2011, which shows a few common typing mistakes that he says he intentionally does all the time, which really only shows that he talks differently to different people, which we'll get into later. Once again, emphasizing that anyone who knew him only needed to take one look at the messages to know that it was not him.
The people I care about most are my close friends and my family. And when I have a significant other. But, you know, one look, it just took one look for people I know personally and who know me personally to look at it and go, no. And just, they're the opinions I care about. And it's not bias either. They've pointed out discrepancies like the going to work. When I make fun of people who go to work, like a joking, of course, like when my friends go to work, I'm like, imagine going to work. You know, it's a running joke because I work from home. Me and my friend do it. I have a friend who works from home. He does the same thing.
Yeah, I mean, that kind of character testimony is like, if it lines up with other substantive stuff, it's good. But that on its own is not enough to vindicate you. Like, oh, my friends don't think that I am a... Well, like, yeah, they're your friends. Obviously, they're not going to want to think that you're the worst person ever. My friend said I don't type like this. It's like, okay, well, you know, hypothetically, let's say this is true. You wouldn't type like that to them. You'd type like it to the 12-year-old, right? No, I'm not saying that I know if this guy did this at all. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that is an argument in and of itself is not, like, definitive of anything. It's kind of just fluff, you know?
Thing. And then when he does have to leave to go to an office, I make fun of him. Like, it's a running joke. So the fact that that was in one of the DMs specifically was just one of the biggest, like, what moments for me.
Shaming wage slaves is not base. Of course it is. Gotta destroy brokies, okay? CreepsMcPasta is like, he's like Andrew Tate. He won.
And for everyone who knows me.
One of the claims that he directly addresses from the victim is the idea that Komori suggested he make a gaming channel in relation to the Creeps persona. The gaming channel was created in 2011 before CreepsMcPasta's main YouTube channel, so to him, it's impossible that he suggested it in 2012. Taking it one step further, he even goes on to assert that he only had one Minecraft account, which only goes back to 2014, but is probably older. He says this is interesting because he only ever really played on one server, which did not have creative mode enabled. He also addresses the PayPal comment in a weird way by saying that due to how far back the events took place, PayPal lacks the records that would actually prove him innocent, which, to give benefit to the doubt, is actually true. I've tested it myself. Because Creeps did not have a job, lived with his parents, and his channel was only making $60 a month, he would not have the kind of funds that would let him send cash.
Is that true? Does PayPal not store transactions forever? How long does PayPal store transaction history? Okay, so it does look like PayPal on their website, it says we made a change to the get transactions details API, so it will only return transaction search results for the past 3 years. Records of your PayPal activity are retained in your account for you to access at any time. Transactions can't be deleted from your account history. Okay, so I got 2 different responses. So it does not show up in the search API, but you can see it if you look through that year, like with a date. As a financial service company, PayPal is required by law to retain information related to the provision of financial services to our customers for a certain time, during which the data may not be erased. Your data may be automatically erased once the retention time is ended and there's no other legal reason to keep it any longer. Okay, so... we'll give him that. It's that transaction could have been deleted, I guess. Do you know the Zero Now podcast is still running? Yeah, I do. I mean, that's not surprising to me. You know, dog. They're gonna be dog. They're not banned from YouTube, so they'll just keep going. And even if you ban them from YouTube, they'll probably just make a new account for all the dog. But yes, I'm aware that they're not. They're probably not gonna go away, bro, until they're all thrown in jail. And even if they are thrown in jail, there'll be new people who come up to take the spot of the dog podcast
Around without it being a huge inconvenience.
Oh, apparently I sent money on PayPal and I tried looking. Again, this is another thing where they've set the date so far back that it's very hard to backtrack to, because on PayPal I tried going as far back as possible. So I was spam clicking all the months, and the furthest I could go was August 2017, which is 3 years ago. So again, it comes down to word of mouth, because they never showed any screenshots of me sending payment. They've only said it. But all I can say is, like, I didn't send people payments, like, back in the day as well. Like, I remember I'd make $60 in a month. And like after the first year, like, I didn't have money to send. I didn't have a job. I was living with my parents. Like, God, no.
CreepsMcPasta would also mention that he's one of the hardest narrators to reach, and Junior is even harder.
You know, I talk about how notoriously hard I am to get a hold of, but if I could talk on behalf of the other person mentioned in the video, Junior, if I'm hard to get a hold of, he is by far one of the hardest people to get a hold of. So the fact that they've had a full conversation with him is what is another off thing to me.
While I do admit that in 2014, Junior would have been the hardest to reach since he did not accept friend requests outright, Creeps was actually one of the first people I met, even before Mr. CreepyPasta. We're talking like the first day I joined a chat, I sent him a friend request and he accepted, which at the time, I was 15. Out of the big three, Creeps was by far the easiest to reach out to and talk with. Keep in mind that Komori was also a narrator likely within the same circles and forums Creeps would have been in as well in 2012. Something that Creeps does a lot within this video is bring up how easy it is to catfish as a YouTuber, which, don't get me wrong, when you're a larger channel with a younger demographic, of course there can be trouble. But at the time, CreepsMcPasta was not a large channel. It should be noted that at the time, he had somewhere between 1,000 to 2,000 subscribers, and his channel looked like this. And he regularly told people in the comment section to directly message him. I just find it extremely hard to understand how Creeps and Creepypasta Jr. were being impersonated this accurately by a mega fan that not only knew his legal name, but some of the details to his life that Creeps, at least in this response video, doesn't seem to be able to recall accurately himself.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, it's possible. It's extremely unlikely, but it is possible that somebody wanted to impersonate him, I guess, and had gotten his docs and had gone through all that effort and then did it so that they could message a 12-year-old girl. Like, there are... Like in the Roblox community and stuff, you'll see like there are creeps who will impersonate different like public figures or recognizable people, or like impersonate actual kids. Like a 25-year-old will impersonate like a 12-year-old so they can talk to another 12-year-old, right? So the 12-year-old that they're talking to is under the pretense of talking to someone their age. That will happen. It's possible, but I would agree, if he had 2,000 subs at the time, it is extremely unlikely that someone was doing that. I'll agree with that, statistically speaking, but it's still possible that Creeps was being impersonated. It's possible.
It's just one of those things I can't get past. Moving off of the catfish stuff, Creeps also mentions that the age of the Chatango account does not entirely line up with his actual age. He also mentions that he's a prude, vanilla, and conservative when it comes to sex due to a religious upbringing.
Apparently, I was very sexual and promiscuous, and, you know, judging from my fear of intimacy, which I mentioned earlier, I'm also not very like that. Like, I've never sent, like, this is a guy now, I will wholeheartedly say this, I've never sent a dick pic. Never. I've never been a guy that trades nudes. I'm very vanilla when it comes to that. I'm very vanilla. I'm very conservative as well. You can probably tell I was brought up religious, and some of it has stuck with me. I'm very closed off in that aspect.
The final accusation that Creeps attempts to disprove was the case of the victim claiming that she was in a few videos with the man himself.
Yeah, Kuro-chan Fox.
Which he even admits if you go onto his channel today, sure enough, you can find Kuro-chan Fox credited. However, I find it suspicious that he completely avoids showing the part that states, the idea for this video was by Kuro-chan Fox, which was meant to be a joint project with her, but she can't do readings anymore, so this is dedicated to her. This suggests that he definitely had a deeper relationship. Because
he has some kind of connection with her, right? Because he had to have, if she's not doing readings, he had to have known something about why this person isn't doing readings, or like what's going on with her.
Because why would Creeps dedicate a video to just a random fan? Either that, or Creeps is not as conservative or as closed off as he claims. Moving forward, he distances himself from the other narrators by stating that back in the old days, he would just make a post in the big narrator chat looking for a voiceover, and that the whole process was very impersonal. So as a result, they may have actually worked together, but that's not proof that they were close.
That is a decent point.
In summary, CreepsMcPasta says that he could not have committed these acts because the gaming channel was made before the victim knew him, the groomer types in a way that is incongruent with the way that he speaks, thinks, and acts, it's easy to impersonate YouTubers via text, that he started a YouTube channel after college and only worked one job, which was Blockbuster, during college, so he could not have been typing going to work or at work because he was never working, and that the PayPal lacks the ability for him to go back far enough to actually prove his innocence when it comes to the claim that he sent the victim money.
The debunk. All right, the debunk.
To begin dissecting the weirdness of this response, there is a lot of suspicious behavior surrounding the release of it. The main one being the change in the description on the Pokepasta Jessica video. If you look at the response, this is partially acknowledged, at least in the description and in the comments, and brushed off as him trying to get videos to pop up in the metadata again for SEO reasons. However, he only says that he changed the title in February, which is true. That said, he also changed the description the day after the Komori interview, which he does his best to ignore. You see, the description was intentionally changed to take out the credit to Kuro-chan Fox's account. We know this because the Wayback Machine shows a credit there after February 2020 on April 12th. Skipping ahead to the 23rd, the day after the interview, we see that the credit was removed, then later reinstated. I actually asked CreepsMcPasta about what happened there when all of this was blowing up and taking place. He brushed it off by saying, "No idea about that, but out of respect for what's going on, I fixed it right away." To re-clarify, this change had to have been made between April...
Out of respect for what's going on, I fixed it. So you're being falsely accused, so out of respect for what's going on, you delete the link to her channel from your description like the day after the interview comes out. It looks weird. That looks strange. I don't know. That looks strange.
April 12th and August 23rd. So someone who had access to the CreepsMcPasta YouTube channel changed the description, and when he got called out for it, the description was changed back and was dismissed as something done in February for SEO reasons. Both I and CreepsMcPasta agree that the victim had experienced something awful. The only difference is who we believe did it. Creeps thinks that this was some sort of catfish on Skype because it's not hard to name yourself CreepsMcPasta and pretend to be him. On Facebook, it's not hard to recreate a page in his own words, and that he had never used Chatango. So when he says,
on Skype, I never got my username.
What is Chatango? Is this just like a WhatsApp clone Chatango. You can create your own chat room, Chatango group for your webpage or blog, public chat, and recent messages stay in the group history. As a group owner, you can block people in your group, delete messages from ban words, and make group moderators. So, Chatango Wiki. Aside from Chatango's public chatting, its most prominent feature is personal messaging. Located on the profile page, Chatango allows users to send PMs to other users. This is where more personal conversations take place, along with one-on-one role-playing and quite often cybering. Cybering. So this is a site that's known for one-on-one role-playing. What is cybering? Oh, just cyber sex. Okay, sexting. Interesting.
I never got my username on Skype. I don't know. Again, and then like on Skype you could rename yourself. So then when people were trying to add me, I'd be like, oh, search CreepsMcPasta, and I'd be like, oh, it's like 20 results. I'm like, okay, I'll add you. You know, because guess what? You did that with any YouTuber. You search for their name, there's always 20 results. So anyone who randomly added them could have been talking to a fake one pretending to be me.
There actually is a bit of truth to that, at least in 2014 when he had over 100,000. That said, this happened in 2012 when Creeps had less than 2,000, and I believe he ended the year off with around 8 to 10,000. The same thing goes for Junior. Furthermore, the victim alleges communication began on YouTube DMs, which, if you don't know, YouTube used to have this feature that let you directly message YouTube accounts. According to Creeps, in his own comment section, he used to make regular use of this feature to communicate with fans. So for both Creeps and the victim to be telling the truth, that means the Catfish would have had to have seen Creeps' YouTube, copy it exactly when he had less than 1,000 subscribers, with the tools available in 2012, and then find a underage fan in a pool of that 2,000, while also being able to accurately get the details of Creeps' life, which we'll get into later. To make everything worse, there's even more. For example, videos that were planned in the Facebook DMs appear on CreepsMcPasta's channel. The idea for the street is directly credited to Kuro-chan Fox's YouTube, which lines up with her DMs and her account of the story. This looks even worse when you consider that he cropped that part out in his response video. Keeping in mind that she said she had a direct line of communication with Creeps via voice and video chat, it would have been almost impossible for a Catfish to do all of that.
It seems like he definitely knew this girl. Like, is there some small possibility? Yes. Like, if someone wants to believe that he was Catfish somehow, I guess you can believe that, but it seems very, very unlikely that is the case. It seems like at the very least we know that he knew her in some capacity at that point in time. Yeah.
For over a year. In his response, Creeps goes out of his way to say, don't believe anyone pretending to be me on text. But she didn't talk to Creeps on text. It was a video and voice chat as well as text. Creeps also has a pretty distinct voice and accent that several of my British friends struggle to put an origin on. The only conclusion one can draw from this is that either Creeps is lying or the victim is. Because there's no way the victim, as a narrator in the horror community in the same circles as the real CreepsMcPasta, because there's no way struggle to put an and voice chat as well as text. Creeps also has a pretty distinct voice and accent that several of my British friends struggle to put an origin on. The only conclusion one can draw from this is that either Creeps is lying or the victim is.
Well, we haven't heard that voice chat, have we? We haven't heard that audio recording, so maybe. I don't know. I think that point is weaker than he thinks it is. I mean, it's easy for a kid to be confused, especially if she's American. The first time you hear a British voice, you probably think all British people it's not exactly the same just because they have a funny voice. So I think that point is weaker than he thinks.
Because there's no way the victim, as a narrator in the horror community in the same circles as the real CreepsMcPasta before he was even a large channel back then, could have been Catfish if her accounts of the events that happened to her are true. So this begs the question, who is lying? So as we established before, CreepsMcPasta claims the groomer did not type in the way that he would, or according to the transcript, he has an aversion to the word and only has said it once or twice to a very select few people. To add on to this, he claims that he never used excessive emojis, types certain words correctly, or asterisk roleplays in chat. That last part is most notable because he physically cringed and recoiled, as if the idea actively repulsed him. And unfortunately, all these claims can be proven false by his post history and previous videos he made, all from 2012, which entirely lines up with the victim's timeline.
Why won't you love me? I never said I didn't love you. In fact, I posted a status saying I loved everyone, including you, especially you who's listening to this now. I love you.
Furthermore, there are so many examples of him typing just like the groomer did.
That is weird.
And that he even loves people in the comments of his videos, Facebook, just about anywhere I look, I could find it. And trust me, I really did not want this to be true. I even found one on his defunct Tumblr account using the Wayback Machine. Looking at all these posts on screen now and looking at the example post by the groomer, it seems that this is almost exactly like how we used to talk. Looking at the response and how Creeps clearly states beyond a shadow of a doubt that he never typed like this or said the word I love you, that it had to be someone with a smartphone just does not add up with the messages and the post history from his past. His post history also casts doubt on the idea that he started a YouTube channel after college and leaving Blockbusters.
Eventually, through more hard work, I finished college with the highest grade possible. I did this whilst getting and maintaining a part-time job and keeping consistent content on YouTube. This was the most satisfying thing I ever did in my life. Some days even ran over 12 hours, yet I still managed to do the whole video making process all by myself. Since college was finished, I found myself with more spare time, but instead of pumping it into games and wasted time, I was sinking more time into video making. all the while slowly learning new skills through self-teaching, experimenting, and YouTube tutorials.
If Creep said that he could not have done this due to how little time he had between the channel, college, and Blockbuster, then it's not definitive proof, but at least it makes coherent sense. But for something that is the most satisfying event in his life, he doesn't seem to remember it so clearly. So now we have to ask, is the CreepsMcPasta from the response lying, or is 2015 CreepsMcPasta lying for content? For this, we can check his Twitter, Facebook, and other posts, which all seem to agree that CreepsMcPasta worked at Blockbusters near the beginning of his channel while also attending college. Considering how short the videos were and how little effort they take to create, which I know from personal experience, I don't see this being a conflict at all. So even if he intentionally makes mistakes.
So it just seems like the more you read into this, the more his current video doesn't line up with past accounts, even from him personally. It doesn't really seem to.
Clearly, at least according to his own post history, CreepsMcPasta did not make them all the time. I know this is anecdotal to Creeps, but he mentions that when it comes to sex and comments about that sort of thing, he's very vanilla because the topic makes him uncomfortable due to a religious upbringing. However, if we were to travel back to 2012, this is clearly not the case. It's honestly not hard to find examples of Creeps getting sexual or partaking in sexual humor from 2012 to 2016, although any examples shown in this video are almost exclusively from 2012. CreepsMcPasta had no aversion to this kind of humor or interaction, at least with his fans, which, if we're going to be honest, Komori was a fan. There are even more examples of this, including one incredibly damning one that may imply he convinced a 14-year-old Darkmander to write smut fiction about Scarecrow, who was 16 at the time.
And now we're back to beach, the shower. And meanwhile, on Creeps' second channel.
Erotica, featuring Scarecrow 1719.
Hey, a 14-year-old girl. Anyway, could you fit... Whoa.
Honestly, that is such a depressing and dark twist of events that I don't even have time to go through it or the mental energy to stomach any more of this than I already have. However, if you're interested in more information, I'll have a video in the end card and description that covers the situation in more detail than I can. It's over 2 hours long. However, it paints a picture. It paints a really dark picture, one that shows Creeps having no qualms of underage people interacting with sexual content involving him. It's no secret that CreepsMcPasta has been into gaming for a long time, and while this is not entirely damning, Creeps tries to distance himself from the idea that he played Minecraft in 2012 by stating that his earliest account email was from 2014, but it might be older. It's very subtle manipulation in my opinion. To start, his original username was There's Two of Us, which is the same name as his gaming channel that started unsuccessfully in 2011. And there is also this post of him playing in creative mode with CreepsMcPasta and one of his Facebook mods in very early 2013, but based on the contents of the post, that picture may have been taken even before then. So it's not out of the realm of possibility here. In speaking of his gaming channel, he also says that it was made before 2012, so that's why Komori could not have suggested it. However, his post history seemed to imply that he just gutted an old channel and pretended as though it was a new one. While this does not explicitly say that Komori is right or that she even suggested it, it does explain how—
It's just like, the thing is, there's too many things that are inconsistent from Creeps' response. Like, he definitely lied about certain aspects of it, knowingly or unknowingly. So it does really call into question his honesty in general. Thanks for the 10, Kenzie. Yeah, I mean, it seems like, to me, it's really calling into question everything about his response, and that makes you think, well, if he's lying about that, what else is he lying about, you know? Like, he doesn't really have a good explanation for any of it other than, like, well, there's a possibility that this person was catfishing as me. And it's like, oh, I guess, but it's very unlikely.
How she could have gotten that detail wrong. If Komori was lying and going through all this effort to fabricate evidence and screenshots, she, like anyone else, could have used Social Blade to check out the channel's creation time. However, if she was just casually talking to CreepsMcPasta at the time, who did say, yeah, maybe I should make a gaming channel, it would be completely understandable that she would have assumed the channel was created when he said it was created. To end this video, we gotta cover the last of his arguments, which include that he did not know what Chatango was and that he never sent the money to the victim due to being poor. Although, as we already established, he actually was working a part-time job. The PayPal information was not readily available at the time of the Komori interview, which I think if it was, the response could have been so much different. However, it was eventually uploaded on the Slime Beast channel. That said, the email used to send the victim money was jacobmonkey@hotmail.com. This much is undisputed. I actually sent money to this account just to make sure that it was real, and sure enough, not only did it automatically change the currency from USD to British pound, indicating that the PayPal was made in Britain, but it also gave me his full legal name, which was not public knowledge at the time. Now, a nifty feature that a lot of services have is the ability to search up an account based on the email used to register it, Chatango being no exception. So when we type in the jacobmonkey@hotmail.com into the search bar, sure enough, it brings out the account that the victim talked to and is referenced in the Belle Aubrey interview.
Ah, interesting. So does Chatango require email verification? Would be another question. Change the email, log into your chat page and click edit profile. There's an email field on the left near the bottom. Change that and save. Like if I try to make a Chatango account right now, Is it going to ask me for email verification? I'm going to try this out just for fun. Sign up. No, it actually doesn't. You don't have to you don't have to verify your email. So maybe somebody could have had that email. Is the point I'm making here is maybe somebody saw that he had that email listed publicly, Jacob Monkey, and they made an account with it because it was that easy. It's possible. It's possible.
This in itself does not say much until you apply the same methodology to Tumblr, which sure enough brings up CreepsMcPasta's now deleted and gutted Tumblr account. We know this because the same Tumblr account is credited under several of CreepsMcPasta's YouTube videos. I asked a few of my friends who are more technically savvy than I am how it might be possible to create an account that requires email verification with the email owner not knowing. The response kind of shocked me. Basically, it would be impossible to create an account without the email owner being made aware of it, especially considering that the Tumblr account was heavily used after 2012. The account itself would have had to have been compromised so heavily, and he would have had to have been unaware of that for years. Either that, or when CreepsMcPasta had less than 2,000 subscribers, someone hacked his email, deleted all the confirmation emails and verifications and PayPal transactions while still pretending to be him and not touching any of his business accounts at all. And I'm sorry, but that's just too much for me to believe. I could go on about how a lot of what he says does not line up with my experiences with the creepypasta community, or I could talk about how he conflates events in his life with stuff that happened after he lost contact with the victim. I can say beyond a shadow of a doubt that CreepsMcPasta lied about everything in his response. We could just...
You need the soft girl singing voice. It's a little distracting. That creepy reading is a little distracting.
Is easily retitle the video to CreepsMcPasta lying for 45 minutes, and that would be probably the most truthful and accurate thing about the video. Meanwhile, Komori's account seems to have no real faults. Nothing is outright contradictory, just unsupported in a few areas with evidence, which makes sense considering how long ago this happened. I want to be wrong. I really want to be wrong. I really do, because that means there's no...
It seems like CreepsMcPasta would have been better off if he just never responded, because her allegations in the first place didn't have definitive proof, and then... You know, I mean, there was some screenshots and stuff, but it wasn't super clear what happened. And then he responds and he includes a bunch of lies, right?
Victim. And that means no one got hurt, and this is stupid and silly, but that's just not the case. And if he really did this, which I believe he did, even if it's not intentionally, much like Kiwis before him, he sicked his audience on his own victim of sexual abuse, which is beyond unacceptable. That makes me sick. Creeps, if you, by whatever reason, watch this, just own up to it, man. You owe her that much.
Just own up to it? Yeah, I'm sure he's going to own up to that. That'd be a good, in the interest of self-preservation, that'd be a good thing to own up to talking to a 12-year-old sexually. I'm sure he's going to do that. Wishful thinking. Interesting video. I'm definitely not on the side that CreepsMcPasta is innocent. I think there's a lot of stuff he needs to answer for here. If he is somehow innocent and there was somehow some kind of catfish, I feel like I need to see more proof of that. But I'd say that creepy reading did a good job of dissecting some of the lies here, and just showing that his story doesn't really add up at all. Really interesting video by that creepy reading. Shout out. Damn, interesting. All right, well, we got that out of the way. I don't remember who suggested that, but really interesting video. The really interesting thing about that CreepsMcPasta situation to me is that his response had basically the same amount of views as that creepy reading's response to him, right? They had the same amount of views, and seemingly, if you look at the CreepsMcPasta video, not that many people there actually seem to have seen the new update, right? They're just fans of him or something, or they're people who haven't heard about the situation and just saw his video and wanted to look into it. Like, the majority of people in the comment section aren't really, like, they're saying someone impersonated him, but there's not really a lot of compelling evidence. As a teenage boy, I can safely say these messages by you are 100% a teenage girl. Like, once again, like, none of these arguments are very good, you know? You don't give me I type like a 14-year-old quirky art girl vibes. Like, once again, these are not very compelling arguments for his innocence. Maybe he is somehow completely innocent. Maybe it was some crazy catfish. Maybe he just got those details wrong because he didn't remember. It was a long time ago. That's possible. But it doesn't really seem to me like that is likely. That seems extremely, extremely unlikely. What I miss? You missed your mom. Can you do a tarot card reading for me? I refuse to do tarot card readings. No, absolutely not. There's just no way that's going to happen. There's no way. There's no way. Tom, speak lower is nightmare here. What does that even mean? What does that mean? What is speak lower is nightmare here? What does that mean? Thanks for streaming while they deliver the mail. Are you a mailman? It's so interesting to me to hear about people who have normal jobs who are watching these streams and hear about what they do. Like, I've had like Amazon warehouse people. I've had like tech support people who work for ISPs. The mailman, or maybe you work for UPS or something, but that's really interesting. I think a lot of your audience is older than you. Yeah, when I look at my statistics, a decent amount of the people who watch this channel are like 25 to 34. I think a slightly higher percentage than those under that age, if not like basically on the same. Can you have Mr. Beast on for an interview? You should support smaller creators with your platform. Yeah, I'm trying to blow him up. Dude. I love putting on the little guy. That's my whole thing.